And now, our feature presentation.
You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain. But you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is. But it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for your attendance, whether it be live in this room or out on the interwebs. It's great to see you all. As technology rapidly advances, it's particularly important to have events such as this to keep the lines of communication and understanding open on emerging issues and risks and ways to better protect investors and improve compliance. Through its examinations and outreach, OC has many touch points in the fintech space. OC's approach to any new or emerging technology is first and foremost, understand what the technology is intended to do, whether it is operating as intended, how firms are complying with their regulatory obligations while leveraging the technology, and how compliance programs, including supervisory policies and procedures, have addressed the new technology. OC also tracks new technology through examination observations. For example, given the significant growth and risks presented in the digital asset market, OC continues to monitor the offer and sale, trading, and management of digital assets, and where the products or securities examined for regulatory compliance. In particular, through high-level inquiries, OC is taking steps to identify market participants offering, selling, trading, and managing these products, or considering or actively seeking to offer these products, and then assess the extent of their activities. Now I want to kick it over to Scott Walker, who will introduce the Digital Ledger Technology panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Welcome, everyone, to the fourth and final panel. Thank you for staying with us. The purpose of this panel is to discuss some of the opportunities and implications of adopting distributed ledger technology for existing business processes and new business processes. So Chris, I'm looking to you. Can you explain the governance structures of various DLT systems? And what I'm envisioning is permissionless systems, permissioned private systems, and permissioned public systems. And most importantly, can you share with us your view of the risks and benefits inherent in each?
Sure, thanks, Scott. And again, thanks for inviting me to the panel. It's quite an honor. I don't think I've been in the SEC building before, so this is a first for me anyway.
Welcome.
So yeah, let's talk about that, because I listened. This was really, I think it was fascinating today. Usually I'm dealing with bits and bytes. This was really, I think, eye-opening for me from a technology perspective, understanding how the systems are being used or abused. But a lot of what I heard this morning was about public blockchain, typically permissionless blockchain like Bitcoin or Ethereum, some of the derivatives. Permissionless system, basically, anybody can participate, anybody can stand up a node. You don't know where that's been, right? There's basically total anonymity, unless, of course, you choose to reveal, who you are behind a given key. And so you have to build on top of that all kinds of structures for, if you wanted to do KYC and AML kind of identity, you'd have to layer that on top of the system. The system doesn't provide for it natively. And then, of course, the other thing is you're sort of, the system itself is the software, right? That's the governance, is the software itself. And there's not really a whole lot of governance over Bitcoin or even Ethereum. Ethereum, yeah, there's a spec and they try and adhere to the spec. But by and large, it's basically the committers of the open source project for Bitcoin or some of the derivatives and or the Ethereum clients that are defining the governance of that technology. So Ethereum, for instance, is evolving away from proof of work because it's very expensive to mine the Ether, and they're moving to proof of stake, but that's taken more than 2 years. I think it's almost 3 years now that they've been.
It's always 6 months away.
Yeah, 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. And so they're in the process of trying to change the way the consensus is done, which could have significant ramifications to a lot of, what you were all talking about here this morning. So that's permissionless. And so it's, again, basically anonymity. You don't know where it's been. The smart contracts run on every node, right? Bitcoin has smart contracts too, but they're just very simple ones. But they have to run in every node. And so the other thing that you have to factor into all of this is, and we talked a little bit about this morning, finality, right? You have probabilistic finality, which means you have to have more than 51% of the network has had to execute the transaction, commit it to the ledger before it's final or committed.
Show me.
This is a sparring program.
Nothing I say represents the views of Satoshi Nakamoto or anyone claiming to be Satoshi Nakamoto. I would say 5 years from now, I don't think we're going to make that distinction that Chris did between public and permission, because I think there will be so many hybrids along the way. One issue is who can make transactions, who can be on the network. The other issue is who is verifying or validating transactions. And those don't necessarily have to be the same thing. So you mentioned Quorum, which is a fork of the public Ethereum code base, the Ethereum virtual machine, originally by JP Morgan, with a permission layer on top of it. There are other interesting experiments that involve using some sort of public consensus mechanism, whether it's proof of work or proof of stake, at the base layer for security, because at some level, having no central point of vulnerability, the idea of a public blockchain consensus system where you're not relying on trust in any particular actor, in some ways actually provides better security, and also the value of a public network where, like the internet, there's one common platform, potentially provides for network effect of value. And then there's experiments like Microsoft just announced something a couple weeks ago called ION, which is Identity Overlay Network, where they are creating a decentralized identity layer. And I know we'll talk more about identity, but essentially a permission-like identity system where it's using the Bitcoin blockchain, and I think ultimately other blockchains, but a public blockchain as basically the anchor representation, because again, they want this to be public and universal identity data, but the performance isn't possible on the Bitcoin blockchain itself. So again, I'm not suggesting anything said Chris is wrong, but I think going forward, we're going to see a lot more things that are really in the middle, taking advantage of these different approaches for what they need.
Jesus Christ, he's fast. Take a look at his neurokinetics. They're way above normal.
What are you waiting for? You're faster than this. Don't think you are. Know you are.
Come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me!
I don't believe it.
I know what you're trying to do.
Assets that are primed for bubble creation, this kind of thing happens. If you want to throw in that other 10% fundamental, as soon as the Fed switched back to a little bit dovish, remember the whole kind of thing behind cryptocurrencies is that fiat currencies aren't treated very well by central banks, and this is another store of value, I guess. But right now, I think it's totally fueled by fear of missing out.
Brian, do you agree or disagree with Jim?
I think to some degree, when you look at how quickly it's moved up to the upside, that to me is somewhat of a fear of missing out. But I think when you look at the development of the market, one thing that may be happening here, look at the price of gold. That has not rallied like Bitcoin has rallied off of a low interest rate environment. And typically people have run and hid in gold in the past. And I think what you're starting to see now is people are like, wait a minute, maybe I should just hold a cryptocurrency. It's easier to transact back and forth. Electronically, I can move my money around. I don't have to worry about a gold bar somewhere or a trust holding the gold bars for me. And so I think what you're seeing is some of that shift, and all of that money moving from both gold and a low interest rate environment are both fueling Bitcoin to the upside.
Oh, shit. Lieutenant, you were given specific orders. Hey, I'm just doing my job. You give me that jurist my diction crap, you can cram it up your ass. The orders were for your protection. I think we can handle one little girl. I sent 2 units. They're bringing her down now. No, Lieutenant, your men are already dead.
How many of you have heard of interledger payment working group? So there is actually some like this one standardization effort. There's actually an ISO working group also working on blockchain standards and stuff like that. But they try to actually define sort of a protocol or mechanism where you could bridge multiple ledgers, and they actually include ledgers in the sense of bank ledgers also in this.
Morpheus, the line was traced, I don't know how.
I know. They cut the hard line. There's no time. You're going to have to get to another exit.
Are there any agents?
Yes.
God damn it.
You have to focus, Trinity. There's a phone at Wells and Lake. You can make it. Go.
And the goal of ILP, specifically the interledger protocol, which is used to do interledger payments. So you have ILP and ILP. This is hugely confusing sometimes, whether you're talking about interledger protocol version something, there's multiple versions of that also to add for the confusion, or whether you're talking about interledger payments, ILP again. But the general idea of this ILP group is that they define a set of protocols, like a bit like internet protocol, where they've drawn their philosophical approach from, that then is used between ledgers to facilitate these transfers. And then you have independent, like these connectors. You can have, for example, you can have connectors between Bitcoin and Ethereum, and another connector between Bitcoin and Ethereum. So there is no centralization of the connectors. They are independent businesses, independent groups operating on their own policies.
Exchange. So who do you think is buying the XRP?
Well, I think I can't know who's buying XRP on Bitstamp or Kraken because it's their customers. We certainly see more institutional interest. We Ripple, we sell a little bit of XRP ourselves directly. Those are with institutional investors, institutional players. Many industries are, let's choose a commodity like gold, let's choose a commodity like oil. Speculators are part of those ecosystems, and they're an important part because they're providing liquidity to those ecosystems. So many industries have speculators to participate. Ripple is focused on how do we enable a institutional use case. Yeah. We aren't trying to, I actually was quoted publicly as saying I cringe when people talk about promoting a digital asset. Ripple never tries to promote XRP as a digital asset. We try to demonstrate its usefulness in product flows and solving a real problem. that assumes that we actually could control the price of XRP, which I would say we can't.
If you were to dump a lot of it on a market, though.
Yeah, we actually now, as I think you probably know, we have it tied up in escrow, and so we really can't even do that. But it's important, I think, for any healthy market to not have a player controlling the market. And I made a comment, not on stage, but separately. Ripple, the company, had our best quarter ever in Q1. We signed up more than a bank a week to production contracts.
And production contract means that they intend to switch on Xcurrent or XRapid?
Real flows, well, Xcurrent or XRapid, yes, but real flows, real money, not experiments.
And what's the balance there? Is it mostly Xcurrent still? Is that?
It's still mostly Xcurrent, for sure. And I think you're starting to see, I mean, we just launched XRapid in the market, Q3, Q4 last year. So the point I wanted to make, though, is, in a quarter where we had a record quarter and signed up more than a bank a week, the price of XRP went down 70%. Have speculators been burned? I mean, massively. I mean, there have been outright frauds, right? We've all read about these things. And, I also made the comment, experiments in blockchain or white papers are not a business model. And for those that are, focused on investing in those spaces, I would offer a lot of caution. I think Ripple has been successful in part because we've been very focused on let's solve one set of problems for one set of customers. We've gone very deep there, and our momentum there has, I think, served us well.
These cryptocurrencies, whether they're called Bitcoins, Iridiums, or others, are clearly in the process of development at the moment. And they are supported by a technology which, in not only my view, the view of the IMF, but the view of many of the financial institutions at the moment, the distributed ledger technology will be used to actually drive, support transaction in a much safer, more efficient, and more anonymous way. But I would suggest that, this is a moving moment, not a moving moment. They're moving components to that whole debate between the distributed ledger technologies, the definition of monetary policies, the fate of an international currency like the special drawing rights, which I have floated and flagged about a week ago in London, which we are going to further explore. But I think we should be prepared for significant changes going forward. There were days when nobody believed in the banknotes, in the paper money, and where, when countries moved to the assignat, in my country, it was just totally disregarded and considered as monkey money. That has massively changed in a matter of decades. I think there is an acceleration process that is in play at the moment.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room, you can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. but truth. That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison. For your mind.